way we receive our electricity hasn't changed much in the last 100 years. A coal, nuclear, or hydropower plant sends electricity through transmission lines to substations and on to transformers. Finer and finer wires and smaller voltages until the electricity reaches your laptop or iPhone plugged into the wall. It's just-in-time manufacturing taken to the extreme. Since electricity travels close to the speed of light, every kilowatt must be used the instant it's created. For utilities, this means balancing a heavy load, trying to match the supply of electricity perfectly and nearly instantly with demand. When demand outpaces supply, everything goes dark, a blackout. Hence the need for spinning reserves, backup power plants that pump electricity into the system at a moment's notice. Keeping these plants online is the most expensive part of your power bill and wastes fuels like natural gas. But since the 1980s, the power grid has been getting smarter. Utilities began putting sensors in places that use a lot of electricity, like factories. These sensors send back real-time data about energy use, giving utilities a heads up on the demand side of the equation. As sensors become cheaper and cheaper, and technologies like the internet and wireless communication become widespread, utilities are adding more and more sophisticated sensors to the grid. And this means one thing: more information. This flood of data will be quickly parsed to locate power failures, reroute electricity, or avoid overheating power lines. That means utility companies can stop relying on grandma to let them know the power's out. It also means they can better deal with power line failures like the one that blacked out the northeastern US in 2003. Within the next decade, sensors are likely to be everywhere. One type, commonly known as a smart meter, will do to homeowners what the utilities have long done to factories. Two-way communication will give both utilities and customers better information about who's using what and when. It could even let utilities do things like temporarily turn off a smart appliance in your home to help avert a blackout. And that means utilities can cut down on backup power plants and also use less reliable but cleaner electricity sources, like wind turbines or solar cells. In a world where energy needs to be cleaner, that just seems smart.
In a time that everyone could agree, our power system should be upgraded. Rolling out the smart grid technology seems to be an easy and clear-cut choice. But like most new technologies, there's always a downside. The smart grid operates on a wireless signal, much like Wi-Fi internet. The power companies tell us that the RF radiation that is emitted by the smart meters on your home is comparable to normal household appliances, such as cordless phones, microwaves, and cell phones. But with every day that passes, we're receiving evidence that this is just not true.
Let's take a look at this cell phone, the emissions. It's a recent model Samsung with a low SAR rating. We'll do it while it's ringing and while talking. It's on, but not transmitting right now. Okay.
Premiership table. It was good defensive work by Everton, but in the end, Manchester United prevailed.
Okay, we'll take a look at a microwave. It's about 1 meter away, 4,000, 3,000, 4,000. Let's go closer. Here we are a few inches away. Spikes all the way up to 100,000. 15,000, 30,000. Back to 1 meter. That is over 199,000. Over 199,000. It's off the range of my meter, I mean my analyzer, but the analyzer is picking up the pulses.
Health Canada recently warned to limit children's use of cell phones because of possible health effects, but has been silent when it comes to smart meters that clearly emits higher levels of RF radiation than any type, make, or model of cell phone. What is also not taken into consideration is the smart appliances.
This year, we brought the entire house with us, including the kitchen sink. It's great to have all these appliances here so we can share with you all the new smart technology that's going to enhance performance and save you time, money, and energy. We're also showcasing connected appliances, which is really a glimpse into the future of what your home will look like, where the appliances are connected to each other, to the internet, and to you.
In the near future, your whole home, all schools, communities will be hubs of RF radiation.
The converted already, so could I have a show of hands of anybody who is unclear that there are health effects from these meters? Anyone who is unsure about there being health effects? Can I see your hands? Okay. All right. Now, and how sophisticated are you? Do you know a fair amount about the health effects? You guys, can I see a show of hands of people who know quite a bit about the health? Okay. All right, so I am preaching for her. Okay, so, you know, most of you know by now, Josh made a point of wanting me to bring this up, that it's very significant that the WHO came out with this new report classifying it as a class 2 carcinogen because they were so sure. It was the gold standard was to talk about how, well, the World Health Organization thinks they're fine. Everyone used to say it. So now there's big jokes being made about how it's in the same category as coffee, but indeed it's also, as you know, in the same category as lead and car exhaust and many other obviously really viciously horrible things for your health. So, you know, we became concerned about all of this 13 years ago when we first started interviewing Cindy Sage. We've looked at all the research. There is no question in my mind about health effects, whether you go back to 4 repeated pieces of research that shows low-level exposures, constant low-level exposures that you get not only from a smart meter, which isn't even really very low level, it turns out, but wireless infrastructure, cell towers, cell phones in your house, wireless routers, is the famous blood-brain barrier studies, which were first done in the 1960s and now have been repeated 4 times. This is a gold standard for health studies. They must show again and again and again that this is the same effect as being proved, and indeed they have. So the blood-brain barrier protects your brain from toxins and chemicals. It's absolutely essential for your brain to have a barrier. The barrier is breached when you're exposed to these technologies. 4 repeated pieces of research that also show that your neurons in your brain die, and this is permanent neuron death, not just the little whoopsie because you're having a bad day. So the other thing that's a really important thing to remember is we're not only damaging the health, and then DNA strand breaks. What we're finding is that the mechanisms for the damage that's being caused by radio frequency radiation is that the results are similar to what happens when you're exposed to ionizing radiation. The mechanisms are different. So DNA strand breaks, well, cellular damage means cancer, but the mechanisms are different in this case, and the main thing about it, which is really scurrilous and nasty, is that it interferes with DNA's ability to repair itself. Now, it isn't just us that's being affected by this. I mean, obviously children are more affected than grown-ups, but indeed, all the animals and insects and birds that we share the planet with are affected, and plants and shrubs are dying, as Josh let us know by putting it on his website, a bush in front of a bunch of smart meters dying from the inside slowly. So, Cindy Sage recently did a paper where she did some computer modeling, and she looked at the effects of these meters on houses and discovered that depending on the amount of reflection in your house, the amount of radiation that you're getting exposed to becomes higher than what would be compliant with FCC standards. And then she discovered a meter that was 5 times stronger. So it's obviously way out of compliance. The thing that's really sort of sneaky and awful about all of this is that many people, until the smart meter deployment, felt themselves not to be very seriously sensitive to all of these things. People use cell phones all the time, they're using wireless routers, they're not having effects. Boom, a smart meter goes on the house. It's not even deployed in some situations. Sometimes there's no infrastructure. Smart meter goes on the house, we're talking insomnia, ringing in the ears, we're seeing dermatitis reactions, we're seeing increased allergic reactions, we're seeing seizures and nosebleeds in children with these things on the house. People are showing up in their doctor's offices, they're calling me for appointments, they're being put on just innumerable drugs for ADD and anxiety and sleep dysfunction and high blood pressure. Blood pressure goes through the roof, you start having palpitations. This is not a joke. This is happening without the full infrastructure in. So do we know that this is really happening? Well, you know what? The Army has been studying these technologies since the 1960s, and lo and behold, not only did they study their effects because they were using radar, which is the same, and they did find all kinds of really awful health effects and suppress the information. Isn't that surprising, would you say? Yeah. So in 1998, here's a paper that came out discussing, doing a study on so-called non-lethal weapons. And the non-lethal weapons is electromagnetic radiation. So what did they find? Well, gee, the same symptoms that Ole Johansson described in all of his papers on electrosensitivity. Dr. Ole Johansson from the Karolinska Institute, who did all the studies on people in high electromagnetic environments who have all kinds of reactions. Same symptoms are in this paper from the Army.
We are now entering the brave new world of smart meters. That means your electric meter will do so much more than just show how much electricity you use. The new smart meters are watching you. They sense all kinds of goings-on. They see when you turn something on or off. They see how many watts your electric toothbrush pulls. They send the record of that little event over wireless networks, bouncing through your neighbor's smart meters, all the way to the power company where they keep record of all your electric consumption volumes and patterns every minute of every day and store that data forever on computers that you'll never get to see. That data shows when you are at home, shows when you're sleeping, shows when you're on vacation, when you have visitors, when you use a lamp, a power tool, some extra computers, and if you look like you're running a business out of your home. It even senses when you bootleg energy off the grid. Your smart meter data shows a vivid profile of your personal living patterns and whether or not you were at home on the night of the murder. This is not electrical metering. This is personal surveillance. This is a search without a warrant every day. This is your personal private life going straight out through your electric meter to the power company, to the government, to the police, to the insurance company, to anyone who cuts a deal with your power company to look at your life under a microscope. Sorry, it's actually worse than that. People who don't cut a deal can get your information too by simply intercepting the wireless signal spewing from the side of your house. Yes, smart meters are radio transmitters. Here's how you tell. This one is a 1-watt radio station licensed by the FCC. On this all-news radio station, every detail of your electrical life is shooting off to some institutional data center somewhere. Already, the police in Ohio, Texas, British Columbia, and places I don't know about are regularly using smart meter data to pinpoint marijuana grow houses, enforce business licenses, and punish people for doing things in the privacy of their own homes that you were not supposed to do, but they wouldn't even know you were doing if they weren't spying on you. Your power company apparently gets to sell your personal life story to whomever it wants. Any unusual power consumption pattern is considered probable cause to raid you for growing marijuana or running a computer server without a business license. This is about as big brother as it gets. Those friendly men with their truckload of smart meters are going door to door with something a little different than a Christmas carol.
Don't think it can happen? It already is. Mission, British Columbia resident Len Grotto recently experienced the wrath of local city officials who fined him $5,200 for growing cucumbers in his basement. Under current laws, municipal regulators are permitted to enter premises on suspicion that a homeowner is illegally growing marijuana. And even if no pot is found, they can levy heavy fines anyways. It is upsetting they can do this, explained Grotto to the province. We are growing cucumbers in the basement because they wouldn't take outside. Several other residents have been wrongly targeted by officials and levied fines for engaging in legal activities, including Stacy Gowanlock, who was ordered to pay roughly $10,000 in fees and repair orders because investigators found traces of dirt in their basement and a furnace pipe going up into the chimney where it should be. These are only a couple of small examples of how the smart meters and the smart grid will be used in the near future. What you're using your appliances for, how much water you're using, everything will be tracked, traced, and monitored, and it's going to be stored in a database. Think it's crazy? Have a look at this chart. It shows how the information will be leaving your home via smart meter. Pass along to different smart meters along the way until it hits your hydro company. After your hydro company, it's going to be sent here in Ontario to the Ontario Provincial Database, then send back to the hydro company so you can be billed. It's going into government databases. This is private information being collected. Now, you might think it's out of this world, or you might think, hey, sounds kind of like George Orwell's 1984. For good reason. The smart fridges are going to track everything you have in your fridge.
Guide you through LG's newly launched world of smart appliances.
How about yogurt? I have 2 yogurts. Maybe I'll get some more.
Aw, Jennifer's in the market.
Let's look at meat. I have ham. Oh, 10 days left. Good. That's good.
With that amount of groceries, it's never easy to organize and find room for it all in the refrigerator. Hi, Jennifer. It looks like you have something special going on today.
Oh, Maggie. Hello. Our son Jimmy hit his first ever home run today, and his dream is to someday play in the major leagues.
That's a very good goal. Well, she's going to get everything situated in the refrigerator. As you can see, the nice, sleek design. She's going to organize everything. Now, it looks looks as if Jennifer is talking to her refrigerator, but the food management system will allow her to see where everything is in the refrigerator and when it all expires, so she no longer loses track of her food, throwing it out after the expiration date.
The oven is going to track what you're cooking. You'll have when you're watching TV. And not just when you're watching TV, what you're watching on TV. Here's a perfect example of that from Germany. Researchers at the Munster University of Applied Science have discovered that it is possible to use electricity usage data from smart electricity meters to determine which programs consumers are watching on a standard TV set. The experiments were carried out as part of the state-funded DAPRIM Data Privacy Management Project German language. By analyzing electricity consumption patterns, it is in principle also possible to identify films played from a DVD or other source. Light and dark passages in these films, large volumes of data, and a minimum of interference from other devices are the key to performing this analysis. The group's experiments use data from a standard, easy meter smart meter installed in a normal home. The meter sends electricity usage data to a server every 2 seconds. The customer profile on the supplier's web server shows the household's total consumption, from which it is possible to extract and analyze TV viewing data. Everything you do in your home is going to be tracked, traced, and stored, creating a profile on you. Now, if you don't think that's an invasion of privacy, or a step closer to the police state, I don't know what is.